The Heavy Civil Association of Newfoundland and Labrador is an organization that represents members' interests in meetings and discussions with government departments, agencies, municipal councils, engineering consultants, and the general public. They are your voice in the road construction, water and sewer, and heavy construction industries. With their partnerships, they connect people, goods, and services through reliable, innovative infrastructure to boost prosperity and well-being in Newfoundland and Labrador.
It's a great place to work, right? You're surrounded by dedicated people who love what they do, and we're serving the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. You gotta love it. We're bringing brands to the province that we're proud of, we'd use personally, so it really makes us really happy to be able to share that throughout the province. I think what's unique is our connection to the province, to the people we serve, and where we live. At the end of the day, all the equipment we sell is meant to keep the province moving.
I'm Alan Dale from Gale Force Winds. It's an absolute pleasure to be back in St. John's, Newfoundland, here with the Heavy Civil Association of Newfoundland and Labrador, their AGM and their annual conference. This conversation is brought to us by our good friends at Harvey and Company. They're the thought leaders in the room, bringing this conversation alive. Just had the Premier of the province speak. It ended with a standing ovation. It was a speech peppered with opportunity. It was a speech peppered with optimism of what the future looks like for Newfoundland and Labrador. And there's one person who's right in the middle of all of this right now. Minister, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us how you intersect with Heavy Civil?
Sure. So my name is Fred Hutton, and I'm the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, but also the Minister of Rural Economic Development. And Alan, the two really are, hand in hand. When you think about the infrastructure and the transportation aspects needed for rural economic development, given the size of our province, given the fact that we have hundreds of communities outside of the Avalon Peninsula, obviously, which we're trying to focus on and make sure that when we make these decisions on how much money or what money is going to be spent in certain areas, what industries are supported by it. I mean, our pulp and paper, logging, mining is exploding in this province now in central Newfoundland. Tourism, one of the mainstays of our province, the fishery. The amount of fish that's trucked over our roads. When you just think about that, you've got to have the proper infrastructure in place to maintain all these industries that help us be who we are. And when you hear the Premier speak today and you referenced his speech and the standing ovation, it literally is one of the reasons I left what I was doing before to come, because I saw that opportunity and I saw his vision for Newfoundland and Labrador. I will say this though, I would have thought of the Churchill Falls MOU as a bit of a Hail Mary. We discussed that 4 years ago. I knew that that's what he wanted to do. I knew he was going to approach Quebec and say, look, is there any point in us doing this? Every other premier, with the exception of Joey Smallwood, has tried to change this deal. But when you think about it, Alan, where we are right now in terms of the opportunities with mining, with wind and hydrogen, with Churchill Falls, and the 4 mega projects that come with that MOU. That's not just about changing the kilowatt per hour rate. Developing Gull Island, developing the lower, like the Churchill Falls 2, upgrading existing Churchill Falls, and then the transmission lines that are going to be needed for it. We're basically quadrupling the amount of electricity that will be available in Labrador, so places like IOC, Tacor, and others can expand and we can start new mines. They can't do that now because they don't, ironically, they don't have the electricity. Mm-hmm. So the potential that's there for trades workers, we've met with the construction trades associations, we've met with Trades NL, all these groups. They want to employ more people here, and we want to as well. We want people to come home to work here on these big projects. We're getting ready to twin the highway. That's a huge deal. Wow. Parts of the highway, I should say, not all of it. There are all sorts of opportunities here for people in Newfoundland and Labrador, and it's right there. It's happening. Yeah,
and it's across the province too. This is, when you talk about rural economic development, we're talking about Newfoundland and Labrador holistically. It's happening everywhere. And this particular association is front and center of it all. This is the backbone to make all of this happen.
Well, you're not going to twin a highway for 80 kilometers unless these folks are involved involved.
Right.
We've met with communities that have their main street is near the ocean. You talk about needing to put in new infrastructure if you want to expand. That includes water and sewer. You walk over to your tap, and I'll be honest, I never gave it as much thought prior to being in this role as I do now. You walk over to your tap and you turn it on, and you expect water to come out of it.
Yeah.
Well, somebody had to put that pipe in the ground for several kilometers, and the pumping station, figure it all out, all the engineering work, and then the road next to it, the shoulders, the sidewalks, all the different aspects of what we all just walk around and don't think about.
Yeah.
These folks are thinking about it all the time. They provide the knowledge and the expertise to build this infrastructure. So it's incumbent on us. I mean, prior to my arrival in this, and just a couple of years ago, the provincial government said, okay, look, over the next 5 years, we're going to spend $1.4 billion. Coming out of COVID, a lot of uncertainty, supply chain issues, government struggling with, what money they're going to spend. But what we did was make the commitment that we're going to spend $1.4 billion. So folks who are with Heavy Civil and others, they can go ahead and say, okay, yeah, we can purchase the new tractor that's pictured here, or we can make sure we're going to hire 10 new people, or we're going to bid on these jobs because we know the government is going to spend this money. They've made the commitment to do it over 5 years. We will likely do something again further down the road to give that stability to the industry, because we've got this huge province, 9,700 kilometers of highway. That's just one lane. You double it if you want to put the other lane in. We've got 1,300 bridges. We have so many, pieces of infrastructure in the ground that people don't ever see once it's buried, until it's not working, of course, or it needs to be fixed. But I mean, all this stuff is there, and these are the folks who put it there.
Yeah.
So we've got to have this. And somebody asked me yesterday about, what kind of a relationship do you want to have with Heavy Civil? We've got to have this open relationship where we're talking, and they're telling us what problems are presented by government, how they can overcome it, and we've got to tell them it equally, and so nobody gets upset, but here's what you're doing that we don't like, or what might make it work better, but let's figure out how we can do this, because we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to make things better in the province. We need everybody working together to do it.
I love that openness to the dialogue back and forth. That is the key to success.
We meet
right?
regularly.
Yeah. That's the key to success. Everybody in the conversation and understanding where they fit in. Your sense of optimism is unbelievable for what the future lies. And it's one of the reasons, the Premier got such a reception at the end of his speech. It is an amazing time in Newfoundland and Labrador.
And I do want to say, Alan, we do have challenges, right? We're facing the same challenges that every other province in this country, and for that matter, in North America and most parts of the world are facing with hyperinflation. The cost of everything has gone up. And even for these folks, the cost of doing business, it's more expensive. People are facing healthcare challenges, in recruitments, but it's across the board. It's not just here. So we got to figure out the ways to work around that, so that we can try to solve it. But doing it with things like the Churchill Falls MOU and the money that will, the opportunities that will provide, that's really at the heart of all of this.
All this stuff doesn't happen without strong leadership. Right. Thank you very much for what you're doing. Appreciate your service.
Always appreciate your time. Nice to see you again.
It's a great place to work, right? You're surrounded by dedicated people who love what they do, and we're serving the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. You gotta love it. We're bringing brands to the province that we're proud of, we had used personally, so it really makes us really happy to be able to share that throughout the province. I think what's unique is our connection to the province, to the people we serve, and where we live. At the end of the day, all the equipment we sell is meant to keep the province moving.
The Heavy Civil Association of Newfoundland and Labrador is an organization that represents members' interests in meetings and discussions with government departments, agencies, municipal councils, engineering consultants, and the general public. They are your voice in the road construction, water and sewer, and heavy construction industries. With their partnerships, they connect people, goods, and services through reliable, innovative infrastructure to boost prosperity and well-being in Newfoundland and Labrador.